enemy comes to capture you. The spirit is a captive in a tower. But of course, there'll be many places where the spirit can be captive. Many of us have had, at some time in our lives, suffered some terrifying or painful situation. There are moments in which something shatters in the depth of our spirit. In other words, what am I talking about here? This is a spirit wound. Okay, this is where it's not just a soul wound. Obviously not a flesh wound. Okay, otherwise I need a doctor. So this is a soul wound is it's painful enough. But when it gets to captivity, this is now a spirit wound. And so it shatters the depth of our spirit. Our spirit and soul is fragmented. The enemy takes advantage of these moments. I mean, he jumps in. This is where he thrives. He's very excited to be part of this, when he can get you to fear so much, to go through trauma. And so through the moments of great suffering and trauma, to capture the fragment or the piece of us and takes us prisoner in his kingdom. And this was, to me, quite a shock. I didn't think it could happen to someone that's in the Word, standing, born again, la la la. But when you go through that shock and trauma, you're unguarded. Those moments you are unguarded, and it's then when the enemy can enter and he can take you captive. And the same with an operation. I mean, we're going to talk about that when our doctor comes to talk to us, and also when you're in an accident. But any sort of trauma that is really where you're not guarded and there's no prayer, and you're not understanding how things work in the spirit. That's why we've written a petition for those that go to hospitals, because we know what happens in hospitals. And when you go under, anesthetic and whatever happens to you there, you are not in control. So you have to then make sure that God is in control, and that everything is covered. Everything is covered in that hospital when you go for an op. When a person suffers from intense trauma, regions of fear capture his spirit and soul. So where does it all begin? This whole thing about the captivity. The people that are going to be sitting in front of you will be those that are suffering depression, or they've been through some, they're just struggling in their Christian walk. This is the normal case of someone coming to you for help. So we always go back to childhood. So in the early childhood, wounding can cause an individual to flee or turn away from life. And I think we've spoken a lot about that in J2F and J2W. And then the child can even start to decide, listen, I've just had it, with my dad and his drinking. I went into rebellion. Because if my dad doesn't want me, I don't want him. That was my coping way. And so I then allowed this whole rebellion thing to take over. My life was just rebellious. And, my family would speak about me and they would say, whoa, she's stubborn. You tell her this thing and she will not budge. She will do what she wants to do. And so I was known to be stubborn. And this is what happens when you open up for this rebellion. But it came because of the pain as a child. We lock ourselves in fleshly strongholds, unable to function. So you put your walls around you, you isolate yourself, and you don't connect. You don't connect with healthy relationships. So you put yourself in a prison. And the spirit can also go to sleep. Now the whole thing about the slumbering spirit. We'll cover that in a lesson. While slumbering spirits are asleep, captive spirits can be tormented. Can you see the difference? So you're going to have a person that has been through trauma, and I would say that's more in a soul level, okay, a soulish wound. And then they just decide, listen, life is too difficult to live, so their spirit man goes to sleep. But when it comes to captivity, this is now a spirit wound. This is deeper. And so the captive spirit can be tormented, traumatized, it withers, so it becomes anorexic, your spirit, or emancipated in agony. How do you